intro talk today is Darren Brown. Maybe we can highlight him up there. Darren Brown is from New Gloucester, Maine. He's been practicing with the Northern Light Zen Center since 2009 and became a Dharma teacher in 2024. Darren loves music, playing the drums, hiking, and photography. And answering questions today is our very own Kwan Haeng Sunim. Kwan Haeng Sunim met Zen Master Seung Song at the Cambridge Zen Center in 1986. He was ordained as a novice monk in 1999 at Chikche-sa, South Korea. And in 2003, he received Bhikkhu precepts at Tongdo-sa, South Korea. He has lived and practiced mainly in Hwa-ge-sa and Musang-sa in Korea, where he performed the jobs of headmaster, media director, and head monk. Kwan Haeng Sunim received Inca in December 2020, and he is currently the abbot and co-guiding teacher here at Providence Zen Center. As always, after the talk, if anybody has any questions, please ask them. The odds are very good that if you have the questions, somebody else does too. All right, thanks everybody.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I believe I'm all set to go ahead, and if you can't hear me, I'm sure somebody will flag me down. Otherwise, I'll just proceed. It's great to be here with everybody. I love these Sunday programs that you all put on. I usually attend them on YouTube, sometimes from my bed or sometimes doing dishes, but it's great to be here. Today, my talk is going to be about Kyolche. And what Kyolche means to me and the significance that it's had in my life. When I think about Kyolche, to me it's sort of a crash course in intimacy and vulnerability and connecting with life experientially. And what I mean by experientially is our practice of coming back and engaging and connecting with this life right now. I really love the practice of having a great question, of every time I notice that I'm distracted, reminding myself, what is this situation right now that I'm in? And realizing that there's a whole world in front of me to engage in that I might otherwise be missing out on. And so that's sort of what I mean by the experiential aspect. Of course, the mind is still something to experience, and it's part of being a human being, you know, whatever the mind is. We all kind of think we have one. I would love for somebody to tell me what the mind is, because I have no idea. But before this practice, so much of my life was my awareness was up in my head, attached to this sort of ongoing drama where I was the main character in the spotlight. And all the while life is going on around me and I'm not there for it because I'm too involved in this winding thing that's going on. Something to do with the future or the past or, you know, this me. And, you know, for example, like if I was to do the dishes, maybe the dishes would get done. And later on, I would realize I don't remember doing them at all. I didn't feel my feet touching the ground. I didn't hear the water coming out of the faucet and feeling it on my hands. The soap, drying the dish and putting on the rack, you know, that's, you know, the experiential aspect. So Kyolche is an amazing opportunity and tool in our school to wake up because it takes away our normal day-to-day life of all of the things that I use to distract myself. You know, work stuff, email, phone stuff, texting, forgetting to text somebody back and worrying that they think that I hate them, which if I never text you back, I don't hate you, I promise. all of that stuff, obligations, social obligations, family obligations. For, let's just say you go to Kilche for 7 days. For 7 days, those obligations are gone. And what I'm left with is a space where my only job and obligation is our practice of doing this practice as we're taught, being with Sangha, sharing that space in the monastery with the people that I'm with, and also the schedule. At Kyolche, schedule is the god. It's everything, really. It's sort of multiple times I've looked at the schedule and I've just been so grateful because it's all right there for me. All I have to do is what the schedule says. And the schedule is varied so nicely. I must say, I love the ebb and flow of how the day progresses. It's, Kyolche is not just 16 hours of sitting in pain. There's so much to it as the day goes on. Between waking up, I usually set my alarm for 4:15, and my first thought of the day is always how I just want to keep sleeping, but push through that, and it's right to 108 bows. And then, after bowing, there's chanting, and then there's sitting, and then we get to eat breakfast together, which is a really great part of the day. Working period, sitting, rest period, lunch, outdoor walks, evening chanting, evening yoga. There's maybe a couple more sitting periods in between for sure. But I think the diversity of the day is laid out really nice, so it never gets too overwhelming. There's always something to engage with. And what's amazing about sitting in this environment where you don't have to, you can turn your phone off and now the outside world is gone and that's just your space. That experiential part of engaging with what is this right now really becomes, your space. It becomes my space. And in that space, over as the days progress, maybe on day one, I have a lot of worry and my mind is really going wild. But I always find that there's a settling down. And then that intimacy and vulnerability that I mentioned at the beginning of the talk just naturally starts to happen as I start to engage with myself in this world in a way where I'm not distracted. But it's really like, what is this really? Who am I? And when I'm not attached to this story, when I'm not attached to these thoughts and this worry of past and future, what is really this experience of being a human being? And as that space in the monastery sort of grows, I start to not only see the things that I know that I hold on to day to day, the things that I add unnecessary weight in my day to day that cause me maybe stress or anxiety. I see those things, but then I also have the opportunity to see the things that I'm not even aware that I'm holding. And each Kilche, I swear, it's like, wow, I've been holding that my whole life, you know? And it's invaluable having the opportunity to see that because it's once you're in that space and you see it and you're practicing not attaching, it becomes possible to start to let that stuff go. I remember thinking last winter, Kilche, like, oh my God, human beings, we have so much stacked against us. I just wanted to say, like, everybody I meet on the street, just like, give them a hug for just waking up and trying, because it's like, holy cow, right out the gate when we're born, through elementary school, through middle school, through high school, graduation, and then it's on to, okay, now what are you going to do? Man, there's just so much. Everybody, family pressure and cultural pressure and societal pressure and social pressure, all pushing down on us all the time. This is what success looks like. This is what failure looks like. This is what it means to be attractive. This is what it means to be good. All of that stuff, our whole life gets, jammed down in. And as there's external pressure, surely our internal dialogue relates to that. And now there's an internal and external pressure of all of this stuff that we put on ourselves. And last Kilche, I was thinking about the story of David and Goliath. And in the metaphor in my mind, Goliath was our human condition that we all live with. All of that pressure and that stress and all that stuff that we're holding so tight to in an ever-changing world, holding on to something that we actually can't hold on to. How hard that is. But of course, in David and Goliath, Goliath has his slingshot. And surely he will not be able to fall Goliath. Goliath is so much bigger than David. But I was thinking, that slingshot, that's our practice. That's our Sangha. That's our teachers. That is the teaching and all of the tools that we have at our disposal to keep coming back. And it's like every time I just come back to being here and experiencing and engaging with this life, it's like a rock shot from that slingshot. And as far as being a human being, I don't think you can take Goliath out in one shot. It's going to take a lot of rocks, but every rock counts, And I have faith in this practice that, just doing it reveals so much. And I know I'm getting close to out of time. There's so much that I could talk about with Kyolche. But one of the other thoughts that I always have when I'm up there is when you're in a space with people who are all practicing, engaging with this moment, but also having the direction of our four great vows together, it's like really amazing, because that sense of being separate really kind of goes away and feels so connected and intimate, not just with the people, but with life itself in that moment. It's and then realizing that you're sharing it with innumerable beings at any given moment. And as you are with a group of people that are all working on putting their stuff down and also following a direction of, great love, great compassion, it's like so inspiring, that energy. And I've had the thought before, like, yeah, this is actually what it means to be a human being. This is just a group of people that are being humans. We put our stuff down, we connect with this moment, and we support each other. And it's like, yeah, that's awesome. And it's so inspiring. And again, I could talk about Kyolche for hours, but that energy and some of those things that I'm lucky enough that this practice is here for us, some of those things that I'm able to glean from doing this practice and then taking them into my day-to-day life definitely changes the way that I interact with the world, with human beings at any given moment. I find that Kyolche is, for me, a very important part of my year, that when I leave, it sort of carries me through. I interact with people I work with differently. I interact with my family differently. And I'm so grateful for it. And I also just wanted to conclude with saying that in Zen, our path is our own to walk. And it is about our experience. And there are so many ways to participate in the school that, if Kyolche doesn't feel right for you, then don't worry about it. Because there's so many things that you can do to be involved and to grow and to keep your own practice going every day. And if you are considering Kyolche, but it intimidates you, start small, because this practice is not a rush. This is the four great vows are, and it's an inexhaustible amount of work that doesn't need to be rushed. So take your time, find your footing, and then, maybe down the line, test the waters a little bit. Yeah. So I think that will conclude my talk today. Thank you so much for listening.
Then that's Brian, huh? What is his name?
Darren Brown.
Darren. Oh, Darren. Thank you, Darren, for your talk. I see Darren here every year. He appears. So I see him. Sometimes I see him up at the monastery, but he always comes for Sangha weekend. Good. Does anyone have any questions? Gary?
What is Kyolche?
So we do two kinds of Kyolche, or not kinds, but in the summer we do 1 month of sitting, 30 days. We start in the morning, like he said, he gets up at 4:30, and we start bowing at 4:45, and we go right on up to 9:30 where we do the chants, 2 chants, and then we call it quits. And so we do that for the summer, we do that 30 days, and in the winter we do that 90 days. In the summer, you can join for 3 days, okay, 3 days, and in the winter you have to do at least 1 week. And we never suggest people, and he said the schedule, so I'm not going to go over the schedule. I would just say that there's one additional thing. He said that the schedule is the God, but it's actually 2 things. It's the schedule and the temple rules. So, and sometimes when we do the YMJJ, the 3-day retreat, we go around the room reading the temple rules. So the temple rules in the schedule is basically all you have to do is that's only you that follow that, and you'll be okay. And so yeah, that's is that good enough? Yeah. All right.
Where are they held?
So we have it at the monastery up here, and anybody that hasn't been to the monastery, maybe Gary or somebody can run you up after this talk. You can take a walk up there. The door is open. You can take a look around. Maybe somebody could do that. It's got a beautiful Dharma room. It's small. You can only fit like maybe 20, 25 tops in that room. And when we do the 2-day retreats, and maybe I think Zen Master Tonggang even does the 1-day retreats up there at the monastery. And it's we find that it's a lot better to take you out of the environment of the residence and put you up there, even for the 2-day and the 1-day retreat. It really works, and people really enjoy it. So in the future time, and going forth, and we have in the past, as long as we haven't rented it out for that weekend, we'll do the 1-day, 2-day sittings up there. And so I was thinking about what to talk about, and I'd like to talk a little bit about Kwan Haeng, who was the greatest, greatest Korean master in Korean history. He's really had a profound effect. He was considered his practice, and he wrote many books and so forth and so on. But one of the things that Kwan Haeng did is that he brought together the sutra and the Zen and the chanting schools, and just showed that people can mind can open up in all 3 of those practices. And Chinul also did that, but it seems every once in a while people got to come back and just remind folks of that. Because in our school, the Zen people argue with the Sutra people, and the Sutra people argue with the Pure Land people, and there's no reason to argue whatsoever, which is kind of interesting. And so our practice is about returning back to this emptiness, returning back to this don't know mind, this before thinking mind. And so one of the things that Wan Yo says is that the profound Buddhist teaching also does not have a principle that we can be used as a gate to pass through. There is no path to traverse. And so there not being no path, since there's nothing to be used as a gate, one cannot walk through it. Yet even though the ocean itself has no ford, people can cross over it with a boat or an oar. And even though the sky does not have a ladder, birds fly across it, planes fly through it. And so we know that this meaning, the pathless path, means that everything is a path. And this gateless gate, every moment is a gate, an opening that we can pass through. And this thing where we say that form is emptiness and emptiness is form. From form and emptiness, any form, this mic in front of me, is everything, material thing is touched with this emptiness. And so if we can understand that, we can understand a little bit about what our friend was saying up there, which is we can come back to this moment where we can see where we're making that, where we're holding on to something, and then we can let it go. So Wan Yo, when he was in Korea, at one point he decided he wanted to go to China and visit the Chinese Zen masters, because that's what you did when you were a Korean monk, is that it was a thing to do was to travel to China and see the Chinese Zen masters. And so he started on his way to go to China to see these Chinese Zen masters. And he stopped off at night. It was and settled down, and it was in the desert. And he went to sleep. And when he woke up, he was really thirsty. And so he reached around, he just kind of reached around, he felt a mug, and the mug had water in it, and he drank it. And then went back to sleep. It's nice, cool water, and he went back to sleep. And when he woke up the next morning, he looked into the gourd that he had picked up and drank, and found that there was worms, and it was a human skull, and it had parts of the skull. And when he saw that, he just vomited right out there. But as he was doing that, his mind opened up, and he realized that mind made everything. Mind made everything. And then what he did is he didn't go to China, but he turned around and went back home, and he became one of the most famous teachers in Korea. Zen and everything has his touch, his influence, and so. Getting back to this form is emptiness and emptiness is form, is that we say that, but then what is form? So maybe I can tell you like this, that all religion that we have, all religion is form, is the form. Within the form we have techniques, okay? But that is the form. In this form, right, we make. So we make this form, okay? But outside of that, it doesn't outside of that, it doesn't exist, which is a very kind of interesting thing. And then having said that this that what it's saying is that I think that delusions are endless. We vow to cut them all. We vow to see through them all. That's one of our vows. Delusions are emptiness. We vow to cut through them all. And so what it's saying is that originally, this universe was empty, and then something appeared. And if you don't attach to that, what appeared, then actually you can live life quite in a peaceful and happy way where you're helping folks and stuff like that. But you kind of got to realize that point. And so then But so then I can put some things to you that sounds kind of shocking. So for one thing, that form that we make these forms. So we say that they're black people and they're white people, okay? But what it is that to that we attach these significant things, and actually we make that. Actually, it doesn't exist. That don't. But to say that they are not black people, they're not white people, they're not red people, they're not yellow people, and the significance that we attach that, we can't say that. I mean, that's the same as we have a Kongan, which I'll go into later. So basically, Zen Master Sung Sun said, you make something, you get something, and there's something that you get will be a hindrance. And so that's kind of like what that is. And what this person is telling that when we go up to the monastery and we practice, we come back and we see that. And if we see that, what can we do with that? We can drop our conditioning that we have. The conditioning of the TV, of the government, of the people that say one thing and this thing. Then we want to know, what is it? What is it that when you go up there and you sit and you bring yourself back to this point where we make things, to this emptiness. You come from this emptiness. Okay, so you sit in this emptiness, and then and what do you do when you sit in this emptiness? You see your mind. And then when you see your mind, you begin to understand that it's your mind makes all this crapola. That's what and it just goes on and on and on and on. And there's a lot of times there's nothing you can do with it. But when you begin to understand it and attain that point, then you don't always have to follow it. Okay, so that's what our practice is, that when you're sitting there, everything's going to appear, and what appears disappears. And when it's disappearing and appearing disappears, then that's bliss. And that comes from a sutra. That's that point where we want to be able to touch. Okay? So to say that, so you can see that from that, where human beings have just made so much shit, is basically what it is, that we're killing and murdering each other, but it doesn't, outside of our thinking, it doesn't exist. I mean, we made it, and if we make it, we can unmake it. Do you understand it? If we make it, we can unmake it. And that's the point that you see when you're sitting there. We made this so we can unmake it. I happen to be an angry person, so then I can then start finding out how is it that I can not be an angry person, so I can unmake that anger. Because that anger is something that I'm making. When somebody does something to me that makes me angry, he didn't make me angry, but I decided to be angry in reaction to what he did. So I need to find that point, that control. Okay? So that's those are kind of stuff that I wanted to talk about. And so this Heart Sutra, we have the Heart Sutra. Form is form, and emptiness is emptiness. So this emptiness is this don't know mind, this before thinking mind, this form. And the Heart Sutra is just that. This Heart Sutra also is just something that we make, but it is a very good tool. So we make this Heart Sutra, okay? We make this Zen. We make this Buddhism. And we use it to help ourselves. So it's really interesting. Many people say, oh, religion is a pain in the neck, yeah, all of these stuff. But I would tell you, I would ask you, is it anything that you can think of where human beings are involved in, where there happens to be power and money, and when they're not screwing up? Can anybody name any kind of thing? Politics? Sports? How about library, anything? Can you think of where the people have some money and they have some power and they're involved in, and they're somehow are not screwing up? It's always going to be that. So then to say, oh, religion, we don't, well, then it's a tool. If you know how to use it, you can use it. So then we can't, well, you might, if that's how you look at it, you might as well just stay in bed. Why even bother to get up if it's like that? How about capitalism? No, okay. Little joke there. So then, and we have a kongan, and the kongan is dropping ashes on the Buddha. Is the book, and that kongan is about somebody comes into a Zen center, and he's smoking cigarette. He walks into the Dharma room, and he sees that the abbot or somebody is sitting right there meditating and facing the Buddha. He just walks in. He doesn't even bow. He goes up to the statue, flicks his ashes, blows smoke on the statue, and then looks at the abbot and smiles. And so the thing about that person is he's attached to emptiness. Okay? So then it's the job, and it's a kongan. So the kongan is, how do you teach this person how to not be attached to emptiness? Because it's true, and it's this don't know mind, this before thinking mind. So everything that we have, all the speeches, all the words, all the businesses and physics and all of those things are afterwards. So it's all stuff that we're making. We made this nuclear bomb. It's crazy. But you can also, with the same thing, you can make good things. You can make things to help people. So then that has a direction. But I find now that it's amazing to sit back and say that we can do anything, we can make anything, we can be anything, and we choose to what we got now. Somehow we chose what we got now. Isn't that crazy? That's insane. This world is insane. Anyway. But having said that, the person comes into the Dharma room and he is full of the fact that he attained emptiness, and he attained emptiness. He attained the fact that everything is the same substance. Zen Master Sung San would say it's like cookie dough. So you have cookie dough, and from cookie dough you have a car, you have a house, you have people. Everything gets made from this cookie dough, which is something that I find a little bit amazing, because a lot of people think that this word emptiness means literally empty, that there's nothing there. But then Master Sung San talks about it like cookie dough. Cookie dough is cookie dough. Everything comes from that. It's like this soup. So everything comes from this emptiness. Everything returns to this emptiness. And if you attain that point, and you're able to make use of this don't know mind, this before thinking mind, then life can become easier, and you can help others in the same process because you have a direction. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense to attain this emptiness and then go to Wall Street and see how much money you can make and how many friends you can get on Facebook. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do just that. That's not, you see that that's not where happiness lies. And yeah. So does someone have some question?
So that person who attained emptiness, what did they not attain? What are they missing?
Oh, thanks, Eva. That's a good question. So what he didn't, he attained emptiness. That's what he attained. So what is this? This is, so I do this a lot, so people tend to know that when I do this, your mind don't say bang or pow, right? Anybody's mind say bang or pow? And the reason why your mind did not say bang or pow is because you heard that before you could think. That's your before thinking mind. This is what Kwan Yo is talking about, that the pathless path and the gateless gate and everything is right here in front of us, right in this moment. You don't, so we can practice right in this moment by sitting here talking to you. So when I do this, you hear that before you think. Now we got to understand this point, that it's not your thinking mind that heard that. It's not your intellectual mind. And it's not your conceptual mind that heard that, right? So we all take that off the table. So then when I do this, what heard that? That's what I'm talking about. So this person that walked into the Dharma room, this is what he attained. He attained this emptiness 100%. And he said, nothing, yet nothing. And he's only coming from that point. But if you come from that point and you stay there, Zen Master Sung San said, then you get sick. That becomes a sickness. But another step is necessary. That step is that when I'm sitting, okay, you come in the Dharma room and you're sitting and people are sitting in the Dharma room, they're returning to this not knowing mind. What am I? This not knowing mind appears. After a while, you keep this not knowing mind and for longer and longer periods of time. And then what happens? It changes. It changes to truth. Okay, the floor is brown, the clothes are gray, this is blue. Okay? And then one more step is necessary. One more step. How do you use truth? So that person that walked into the Dharma room, he's attached to emptiness. So the next step is he needs to understand, he needs to attain truth. And then when he attains truth, what do you do with that truth? Okay? Don't know. How about it from thirsty? How about it from thirsty?
I still don't understand my
Have a drink.
Okay, good. Maybe you would consider getting me a drink. Yeah. All right. So that's that's kind of like how I see that.
Hi, Josh here. So we talk about this making nothing, right? And I think, at least me, a long time ago, I would have heard that and thought, well, I'm making nothing, so that leaves a lot of room for this other crap or all this stuff that I have no control of, right? And it leaves all the control up to nothing. And there's maybe a lot of fear and anxiety that appears there, and then there's a lot of fear and anxiety maybe that appears in our mind. So I'm sort of wondering, this process of sitting here and making nothing, and this idea of getting nothing, what actually happens? What are we cultivating? Because something does happen, even though we're not attaining anything. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So what we're cultivating is a clear mind. But there's also something that you got to understand about that we can control our how we feel and how we react to things. We can't control our environment. We cannot. The war and stuff that's going on and all the misery that's going on, we have to do something about that. And how that happens is with the clear mind and being in this moment, we could see things as they are. Okay, see things as they are and make a decision from that point. But don't make a mistake and think that you're going to sit here, right, and physically change things on the or not change things, but control things. You know. So you can't. But what you can do is you can practice together, attain this point, attain this compassion and everything else, and work with the people around you. Have some attainment, some understanding of that. Understand that just making money and having fun and doing things that make people think you're great, that's not what life is all about. I mean, those are things, but it's not what life is about. And so you got to see that, because then who is having fun? Who is all of that? Then if you look at that and you see that thing that is having fun is fundamentally empty, then what? Then what? Is somebody going to tell me then what? Yeah? Only that?
Sitting here listening to you.
Okay, all right. But so this then what is that you'll see that actually we're all connected. So then what can you do? How can I help? You can help your family, you can help your people at work, you can help the air, the environment, the water. That for me, that's the purpose of the human being. We're like we have been given this earth not to have fun and play with and do what we want with it, but to take care of it. And to take care of each other, because guess what? We're not apart from this earth. We're not apart from it. Of course, all this is a lot of yakking. And what you need to do is you need to sit down and look inside and then find that point. Now, finding that point doesn't mean all your problems are going to go away. I wish that was the case. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that's going to happen. But if you're practicing sincerely, I can guarantee you that these things, the stuff, your neuroses and things like that, over time you'll see that it becomes less and less dominant in your life. And lots of it do fall away. Okay, but you're a project. It's all that you're a project, and you gotta attain that point that you're a project, and you're always gonna have stuff of yourself, of your personality to work on. Okay, I mean, there's many Zen masters as you know, and I've seen that have, and the word done stupid things and do stupid things and on and on. But but that doesn't take away from their attainment. And hopefully that they there's all of that there that I say is that you got to understand that that's kind of like the human condition. And so we have to deal with ourselves, and nobody can do that but the person who looks at us when we look in the mirror. Is nobody else can do that. Yeah, but in the process, we feel this connection, and we help others, and we all move along the line and help each other when we fall. And enjoy when somebody doesn't fall. And we celebrate their good works. Okay.
Hello. Thank you for your talk, Sunim.
You're welcome.
I have a question going back to Kilche. Whenever I've sat Kilche, I felt very tired from the schedule. And so I get really sleepy. In fact, sometimes during the 10-minute walking periods, I found myself going back to my bed to take a quick 10-minute nap. Can you tell me how I can, if I can get past this tiredness during Kilche?
When you were on your after lunch, so we changed Kilche a little bit so that after lunch, instead of coming back at 1:30, we come back at 2.
Okay.
Can you lay down and just get a strong sleep, and then get up and practice it? Any of your breaks, you go right to your room and lay down. I've done that a number of times. It works for me.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, before I sat this morning, I went to my room. I took my clock and set it for 30 minutes and laid on my back and just, and then, and it rang and I came down and I sat and I was wide awake for sitting. I was afraid. I've been up. I got up this morning early. You know that on Sunday morning we don't practice. But I was up at 6, and by the time it came to 9:30 and sitting time, I would have been nodding out for sure. So that's what I did. Have you done that? Have you done those things in Kilche?
I've taken naps before.
You got to
Yes.
really pay attention because your mind is, how can I do a good sitting? And also, you don't want to go to sitting and just feel really bad. So then you got to do something. You just go right to your room. Never mind about the phones or anything like that. You're not checking your phone, are you?
No.
No. Any of those things, you just leave aside and just go to your room, lay down, and see what happens. And it's a power nap, what you did for 10 minutes. Some people say, oh, 10 minutes. It is, but it's a kind of power nap. There's a kind of sleep that you can do. You get out of it, and then you can be awake for like a hour and a half. Yeah. And also, but a kind of interesting thing, in Korea, you can sit if you want. You got another question. So in Korea, I've seen people that regardless of how much sleep they get, when they sit, they're out like a light. They're just sleep. They're sitting all day, and then they get up and they go to bed, get up the next morning, they slept all night, and then boom, they're out like a light. And so I admit, and you're not like that. I can tell you now, you're not like that. But there are people that like that, and I don't understand about that. But I did know somebody who was like that. But he was also become clear as he practiced, and I don't know how to really attribute that. But he did the schedule, got up, did the bows, and he did the sitting. He was a monk. But he also just, boom, he's out like that. Okay? But he also became clear and became a teacher. And so, and it is what you got to work with what you got. Okay? And some of us have body things that don't allow us to bow or don't allow us to sit and all these kinds of things that do that. And I can guarantee you take, like I say, you take 10 people and then send them out to help, and they're going to help in 10 different ways. You take 10 people and you get them to any kind of form, like say Renzai, or insight meditation, or Zen, okay? And you take those 10 people and start them practicing, right? In each of the forms, start them practicing. You come back 5 or 6 years later, you'll find differences in their practices within that form, because that's how it is. You got to take responsibility for stuff, and you're doing that, asking that question, trying to find out, trying to figure out how to work this out, and that's a good thing.
Question.
Okay.
Hi, I was born in Korea. I came to U.S. 40 years ago. I've been practicing social work in New York last 40 years. My question is that I've been thinking about reincarnation a lot, on the karma in previous life. After we die, where we go. Sung San mentioned, I think, about one of his students, about his previous life. I work with a lot of insane people, schizophrenics. Sometimes I wonder, what do they do to be born like they suffer whole life? Do you have an answer?
Yes, don't know. and so that's, now the whole thing about that is Zen is about this moment, where we really pay a lot of attention to this moment. And like I said, the Tibetan style of practicing, they have whole situations about why you're, like if you're a schizophrenic, it's because in your previous lives you did something to other people where and so now you come back as a schizophrenic. And there's whole forms like that in Zen we don't get into that, okay? But I've heard Zen Master Sung San once in a while speak from that. He comes from the Korean Buddhist tradition, so your mind can go all of that. But still, they say that if you want to understand your past and you understand where you're going in the future, you got to pay attention to this moment. Okay, then you can see that. I can sit, and everybody I guess can sit and see how they can figure out how things appeared from their past. But it's it's kind of, yeah, we can go to the bar and have nice conversations about the reincarnation and all of those things, but it doesn't help. So let me just tell you this. So there is the book, and it's called the Tibetan Book of the Dead, in which you read that book, and it shows you how to do things so that when you die, you can have a clear mind and get reborn in a better situation, okay? Or you can become Buddha if you really know how to keep your mind. And through these worlds they call battles. So you go through anger, jealousy, and all the poisons of the mind, all the good things. And the thing that catches you most brings you into life. Okay? So what is the purpose of this? So in the Tibetan religion, they talk you all about this, give you all of this stuff in which you are talking about reincarnation. But how is it that you go through what is the training that gives you to go through this world of battle? That training is to have a clear mind. And so Zen Master Sung Sung was very clear about this. If you have a clear mind, then you get everything. Okay? You don't need to do all that stuff. But I'm not saying it's not necessary, because people like to have things, just like we like to have a religion. We got a religion and it's very helpful. I don't want to make jokes about it, because without Zen, I wouldn't know which way was up. I wouldn't know anything. And so that's kind of like how that is. So if you want, you can look and read and have a good understanding what people think about reincarnation, what the Zen masters think about reincarnation. But it's not, ultimately, it's not really, it doesn't do anything about what you do when you sit in the Dharma room and you come back to this moment. That has nothing to do with that. Okay? Does that work for you? No? So as they say, Zen is not for everybody. And I think it's time. Yeah.
Here we go. Thank you for your talks. Thank you, Darren, if you're still there. Just a few announcements. This afternoon, we're going to have a short Kido with Danielle. So Kido is the Korean style of chanting. So at 12:30 we'll have pizza, at noon we'll have pizza, and then we'll come back to the Dharma room and chant for just an hour. So if you're interested or curious, come on by. It's actually not clear. Taiji may be coming to do some work outdoors, and if he does, he may need help from a couple of strong guys. So if you are available, just kind of hang around and see if that happens.
Actually, Taiji he's like a contractor, and he's working on the platform and stuff going around the pagoda. And eventually the stairs that are out here, he's going to replace all of those. But he can't work alone, and he needs help. And he's actually volunteering all of his free time. All of his time is that we just pay for the materials, and he does that. So any help. And as far as chanting, is that we don't do chanting on Sundays here, so you guys haven't had that experience. This is a good time to experience chanting. And maybe what we'll do is start a regular Sunday kind of thing where people can do some chanting. You see the power of chanting. Yeah.
Are you going to play talk while we're chanting?
Yes. We do have a number of retreats coming up. Today, YMJJ, which is kind of the traditional Zen retreat in early September. Also, Zen in Motion with Dave. Where did Dave go? Okay. Dave, who made the announcements. There
he is.
There he is. Oh, I was wondering who that was. That is so funny. In any case, Dave will lead a Zen in Motion retreat where we'll do it is going to be at the monastery. There'll be some sitting, breath work, a little bit of yoga with Lisa or Danielle, and then also we'll do some hiking on our trails, which we have a lot of trails, and we're actually connected to longer trails. So in any case, it'll be a retreat with a little bit more movement than we usually do.
And no pseudomoxidines and monks.
That's
or
right. So we can
royal
do what we
pains.
want. Nobody's if you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, consider doing that. I have a Sangha newsletter coming out early, actually maybe tomorrow or Tuesday, where we feature Sangha members. We have a teaching from Zen Master Tangong, and also share kind of Sangha news. So we'll have a recap of the Founders Day weekend, a bunch of photos. Narina took a bunch of really good photos. So definitely sign up for that if you were able to attend, or maybe you didn't, you get to experience it vicariously through the YouTube channel. The gift shop will be open, and we have a relatively new book in the gift shop, Jason Quinn JDPSN's No Nonsense Zen. That's like a beginner book for folks who are new to our practice. And as usual, we will have refreshments and just social time right outside in the lounge. So thank you very much. Someone made some kind of cake or brownies, so.
Thank you for joining us for the Providence Zen Center live stream. We're here every Sunday for a Dharma talk at 10:45. And we'll see you next Sunday. Thank you.